chamber lights glared as Donald Trump leaned into the microphone at the United Nations, his voice booming with the confidence of a showman. "A Gaza deal is near," he declared, as if the words themselves could conjure peace. Yet even as applause echoed from some corners, the world saw different images: shattered homes, grieving mothers, children clutching the rubble of their schools. The contrast was unbearable, the promise too slick against the backdrop of so much suffering. And so a question cut through the air like a blade. Could these words heal, or only distract? But behind that bold claim, whispers were already spreading. Was this truth or just theater? Gaza lay in ruins, its skyline reduced to ash and twisted steel. 66,000 lives had already been lost, and every statistic carried the weight of families torn apart, dreams buried beneath rubble. Across continents, protests surged, millions marching with banners that screamed for justice, for dignity, for an end to endless mourning. The pressure on leaders was unbearable. The world teetered on the edge of despair, waiting to see if history would finally bend toward mercy. If these talks collapsed, hope itself would collapse with them. And in that fragile atmosphere, one voice dared to sound hopeful. Amid the noise of speeches and the clash of egos, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's words rang with calm conviction. He called Trump's engagement with Muslim leaders encouraging, framing it not as a favor, but as a duty owed to humanity. His voice carried dignity, measured and restrained, yet it echoed the pain of displaced families and the resilience of immigrant struggles worldwide. Sharif reminded the world that justice was not charity, it was an obligation. For nations yearning for recognition, his tone felt like validation, a reminder that dignity could still rise from devastation. But while Sharif spoke of hope, the villain of this drama was already moving pieces behind the scenes. Donald Trump styled himself as the master negotiator, the self-proclaimed architect of the art of the deal. But behind the bravado lay a trail of broken promises and theatrics, designed more for cameras than for the people whose lives hung in the balance. His words often soared, yet his results collapsed under scrutiny, leaving communities betrayed and hopes deferred. Now, as Gaza bled, he once again claimed the spotlight, promising resolution with the flourish of a showman. But the stakes were no longer boardrooms or branding. They were lives, dignity, and survival. And yet the stage wasn't his alone. The world was watching, and another figure carried a different story. Beneath the headlines and the speeches, Gaza's people had stories of survival that no camera could fully capture. Families rebuilt homes with bare hands after each bombardment. Children studied by candlelight amid blackouts. And refugees clung to dignity while waiting in endless lines for water and bread. Their resilience was not silent. It was a quiet defiance against despair. These were the true protagonists, the mothers, the workers, the dreamers, who refused to let their identity be erased by rubble. Their struggle transformed statistics into faces, pain into pride. And when their story finally collided with Trump's political theater, the debate ignited. The chamber swelled with tension as Trump doubled down, boasting of imminent breakthroughs, his words laced with spectacle and self-congratulation. Yet across the table, world leaders shifted uneasily, their silence more cutting than applause. Some whispered of statistics. Others invoked human rights, but all carried skepticism sharpened by years of disappointment. Dignity met arrogance head-on, calm, measured voices confronting the bluster of a man who treated war like a stage. The clash wasn't just political, it was moral, a test of truth against theater, resilience against noise. And then, amid gasps in the chamber, the counterattack landed. One by one, Muslim and progressive leaders rose, not with fury, but with steady conviction. They recited the numbers Trump ignored: tens of thousands dead, families shattered, children starving. They spoke of justice as duty, not spectacle, and of dignity as a birthright, not a bargaining chip. Each word stripped away the veneer of showmanship, exposing contradictions that could no longer hide behind applause. Trump's swagger faltered. His rehearsed certainty cracked beneath the weight of undeniable truth. The room shifted, power tilting toward those who spoke not for themselves, but for humanity. But the shockwaves didn't end in that room. Within hours, The chamber's echoes spilled into the streets and onto screens worldwide. Hashtags surged, weaving a sense of solidarity across languages and borders. Memes celebrated the quiet strength that had humbled bluster, while immigrant families posted stories of pride, reminding the world that their dignity was bound to Gaza's struggle. Youth shared clips with captions like, "This is why we fight," turning diplomacy into cultural fire. The ripple effect grew into a wave, proof that truth, spoken calmly, could roar louder than arrogance. A moment of validation became a movement of identity, and from the noise emerged one lesson too powerful to ignore. In the end, the lesson was undeniable. Arrogance may command a stage, but dignity commands history. Trump's theatrics could not outshine the truth spoken by leaders who carried the weight of humanity in their words. Justice revealed itself not as negotiation, but as a universal right, one that belongs to every family, every child, every nation yearning for respect. Gaza's struggle became a mirror, reflecting resilience and solidarity that no spectacle could erase. For those watching, it was more than politics. It was identity, it was pride, it was hope. Now, the call is yours. Stand, share, and carry the story forward.